Previously on Failproof Kitchen.
Today we're going to be learning how to properly sharpen a knife.
Wood board is number 1. Plastic board, number 2. Glass board is bullshit. Start at the heel of the blade with pressure, and we're going to just... That's good. That's good.
That wasn't very
convincing. First
convincing.
effort. Welcome back to Failproof Kitchen. I'm Chef Robbie, winner of Guys Grocery Games, Beat Bobby Flay, and Pressure Cooker on Netflix.
And I'm Jenna Fail. I'm a weight-slinging, junk-hunting, Jesus-loving, glass-cutting woman here in South Carolina. And guess what? Today, we're gonna be learning basic knife skills with Chef Robbie.
I feel like I'm underqualified now after listening to your credentials.
See, I feel like I need to leave the kitchen.
We're gonna work through it together. So, first thing we want to talk about is just kind of like cleanliness, general cleanliness, how we stay safe and stay organized and stay, ready to cook. So what I've done here is we've taken a little parchment paper, I've put it down. So whenever you're going to peel or something like this, one, peels are bad for like your garbage disposal and stuff like that. You don't really want to throw them in there.
Right.
So, Jenna, you don't want to throw the peels in the garbage disposal.
I heard that lemon peels are fantastic for this.
Okay. Maybe lemon peels are, but not carrot peels.
I'll take your word for it.
We're gonna just peel onto that piece of paper. It's gonna keep things relatively nice and neat for us to just go ahead and, if you're a composter, you could throw these peels into the compost. So the whole reason for peeling this is I need to see where you're at.
Am I coming out with old trusty or are we going new?
Let's go with the 1.
Okay.
Show me with the 1.
Tell me what shape you want them. Do you want these in a star?
I just want slices. I just want to see where we're at.
All right, like little rings.
That's what slice means.
Okay. Cut that out. All right, I would first get rid of that end.
Yep, proud of you. Okay, that's enough.
Was it good?
So it's not terrible, but it's not great either. So one of the things we want to talk about is like uniform knife cuts, why it's important, stuff like that. So when we're making a salad or something like that, not as much of a big deal. But when we're cooking something, we want to make sure everything is uniform and the same size. So we want it to cook at the same level. So as you can see, we've got this carrot, which is like see-through.
I felt myself and that was a mistake.
And then we got this one, which is a little thick. So we want to try and get as uniform as possible.
Okay.
So a few things about how you hold the knife. I'm gonna switch over from the 1 to the new knife that we bought. So first things first, holding the knife. A lot of people do what I call a tomahawk grip, which is hold it like this. I think you do this.
I think I do the Michael Myers like.
Yeah, you do the tomahawk grip?
Yeah.
Okay. So the only problem with the tomahawk grip is you're naturally either right or left-handed. So if you're holding it like this, one, it is like a bad angle up against your arm.
Okay.
And as you get closer to your body, you're gonna turn that knife in towards your cutting hand, which puts you in danger of cutting your finger.
Okay.
So what you wanna do is pinch the heel of the blade between your thumb and first finger here. And then the rest of these fingers are just there to stabilize. Really, this portion of your hand is what's doing all of the work.
Okay.
Okay. So then we're gonna talk about our holding hand. So I noticed the nail out there. Yep. And you have nails, so that's a little bit of added protection for you. However, if you don't, what you wanna do is you wanna curl your fingers. So you want this first knuckle to be in front, and you want your pinky and your thumb to be behind those first 3. So it's a hold like this. It's a little odd to learn. It's gonna feel awkward.
Okay.
But once you get comfortable like this, you almost will never cut the hand that's holding the vegetable. So we have our pinch here. We have our vegetable held the right way. And we're gonna go take our tip to the board and then the heel to the board. So tip to the board, heel to the board. And then if this carrot's a little bit on the bigger side, but if it's a bigger vegetable, you can move the vegetable down into more of the gap. You can leave the tip on the board.
So you're not actually, okay.
And you can rock, kind of what you were doing. And then we have some nice evenly cut pieces of carrot, onion, whatever we're cutting. And we're gonna take this and immediately pick it up and move it elsewhere because we don't want it on our board. We want to keep our board clear, be safe. If you're trying to practice your knife skills, one of the vegetables that's the best to do it with is a potato because it kind of sticks to the board a little bit, doesn't move around. So you just square the potato off.
Okay.
You always want to get like a flat surface. So if you're cutting an onion, which we're going to do next, you want to talk about that. But you get a flat surface, and this is wasteful. This is just like for practice, but we're not going to waste it because I'm going to talk about what we would do with it. You would square it off here, And then we get into like some of the classic French knife cuts, which is like a julienne, which would be this into perfect little rectangles. And then we take a julienne, and from there, we cut it into squares. This is now what we call a small dice.
What would you do with that?
So this is actually like between a small dice and what we would call a brunoise. So this is more like something that you would use for a garnish in a soup or something like that. Very small. You would really wouldn't do this with potatoes often. What you would do it with is like carrots or peppers or things like that. That would be a finished garnish in something. That's kind of how we get like the traditional knife cuts. And you don't have to be this like stringent at home. It's just kind of going through it because we're talking about knife cuts. The reason you practice with potatoes though, put all this into a pot, boil it with salted water, add your cream, add your butter, you got mashed potatoes, you didn't waste it practicing. And then if we're cutting a whole bunch of potatoes at a time, like we're doing French fries, hand cut or something like that, we wanna hold them in water so they don't turn brown.
Yes.
All this potato will turn brown if we just let it go. So we have the onion here, we have the root end and the stem end. So I'm all about saving as much of the vegetable as we can. So what we wanna do is we wanna, again, grab our holding hand like this, come straight through, tip to the board, and then down. Now we have 2 flat surfaces to use to cut our onion. Now the way that I like to do it, I come in at an angle here and cut off just enough of both sides. I like doing it this way. It's the least wasteful way that I've found to cut an onion, and you keep some of the root area intact so it stays together when you go to dice it. I also don't peel all the way down till I'm completely clear of this skin. Like I said, I like to use as much of it as possible. So if we're gonna slice it, this is different than like a burger slice. So a burger slice is like round, but when I talk about a sliced onion in a professional environment, or I talk about it as far as a julienne onion, we're gonna come in here and we're gonna come at an angle, and we're gonna slice it like this. And then when we get to the point where we're uncomfortable, we're getting like a little less of the onion, you just drop it. And then boom, beautifully sliced onions, julienne onions. Now, if you wanna dice the onion, a lot of people have seen this trick, but just to kind of go through it in detail. Again, if you have those carrot peels and onion peels, and you have some celery roots and things like that, you can throw all that in a pot, you can make some vegetable stock, and it's gonna be a great way to flavor, you know, rice or a chicken dish or something like that. It's better than just putting water. So we have the root end and the stem end. So we're gonna hold it from the root end. We're gonna come in here, not all the way through, but about 2/3, 3/4 of the way through. We're gonna make slits in the onion like this. Then we're gonna come in this way, again, to curl our knuckles. Be careful, you wanna cut it downward a little bit. And then from here, you're just gonna cut straight down.
I do that, but it's way more dangerous the way I do it.
Well, that's why we're doing this.
I have another way I do it.
Is it with the shears?
No, I need to try that though. But I do have a secret little weapon in the kitchen. I do have a little dicer.
And those things are great. You can use those. So if you want to slice the onion and drop it right into that, it works just fine. Then when you get down to this point, you're gonna kind of do the same thing with the heel of the onion.
So you'll actually use that heel part in,
Oh yeah,
in there.
I use it all. And then if we want to take it from a chopped or a diced onion to a minced onion, a mince is basically gonna be, you're gonna hold the tip of the knife down and you're gonna rock. Now I use the tips of my fingers to hold the blade down because I want to be able to see everything I'm doing. You will see some people on TV do it like this, and I don't like that just because I can't, there's so much covered, I can't see it.
That's how I tend to do it.
So with the fingers, you can see everything you're doing. You have just as much control, and then the mince would be used for things like, you know, pico de gallo, or going into some sort of sauce or a soup or something where you don't want to be able to see those pieces of onion. So also, we want to talk about herbs and things like that. So when we have scallions or an herb or something like that, because the leaves are a little bit more delicate, we'll go ahead and cut the root end off. And you want to just take a little bit of water and just clean up these ends.
Is that fine to just throw out that first layer that comes
Yep.
off? I always do.
Yep.
Okay.
Any dirty or kind of like dead leaf will fall off at that point. So when you're cutting herbs and stuff like this, you want to make sure that you're letting the weight of the knife do the work So I'm not really pressing. We don't want to bruise any herbs. And this is a pretty sturdy one, but if we were cutting, say, basil or parsley, you want to just let the weight of the knife do the work. It's not going to bruise everything. It's going to maintain that flavor, that structure, and it's also going to keep that product from oxidizing as bad as it would if you just like chop the crap out of it. Same thing with like cilantro, if you're throwing that in pico de gallo, but you want to make sure you just kind of glide the knife back and forth like that.
Now, how far down scallions will you go? All the way?
I use the whole thing. Yep.
Okay.
So I will cut the very root off. I will cut these little kind of like frayed tops off, and I will use the whole thing. But I use the bottom portion to cook with, and I tend to use the top portion as more of a garnish.
Okay, like a chive.
Yep, like chives. So this is a perfect alternative. We made the switch. Still got that onion flavor and still got the look of a chive. It's just a little bit bigger. So now let's take what we just showed you and let's see you do it.
Oh, I didn't know that was about to happen. Now pressure's on, no big deal. All right, undress it here. No, you just cut it right down here for just ease of.
So.
Oh yeah, pinch.
There we go, yep. And you can kind of move, like rock the knife like forward a little bit to give a little slice. We're letting the knife do what it does.
I'm making you nervous.
No, not yet.
Not yet?
No, not yet. You're doing pretty good.
All right, so this is where it gets a little tricky because they've kind of come apart. So you want to keep them uniform, huh?
You want to keep them as uniform as possible. So sometimes what I do here is I'll cut it in half and then like double it up.
Ah.
It's good.
Yeah. Now, if you get to like this, would you do a rock?
It just depends on the application, what I'm going to use it for. In this case, I'm just looking for rounds, so we just leave them as rounds.
That looks great.
And there is our basic knife skills demonstration. You did pretty good for your first time with a great big old grown-up knife. Proud of you. And
thank you.
Now that we have some stuff cut up, I think it's time for us to get cooking.
Let's do it.
Next time on Failproof Kitchen.
Rubs, vinaigrettes, and marinade. Oh, no way. Things like rubs, marinades, and vinaigrettes are going to give you variety and flavor while also maintaining your health and wellness through meal prep and convenience.
Squeezing it upside down so it catches any seeds.
Oh my gosh.
So we're just whisking it a little slower.